Hi, Nicole. Thank you so much for coming in and meeting with me. I'm looking forward to going over Clara's results from the assessment. Thank you so much for allowing me to assess her and spend time with her. Yeah, she was wonderful. It was great to assess her and get to know her a bit better. So what I did was I assessed her using the WIAT-3, which is the Wechsler Individual Achievement Test, and it's the 3rd edition. So it's been revised a few times and it's keeping up to date. So essentially the WIAT looks at 5 areas that we assess for. So I assessed Clara for her oral language, her reading, which includes her basic reading, her comprehension, and her fluency. I also assessed her writing, her math skills, and her spelling skills. So within the WIAT, often you'll hear me talk about percentiles, and what that means is out of 100 children that have done the exact same test in the same environment, out of those 100, whatever score is the percentile is where Clara would have placed out of those 100 students. The other thing to note is that the test is scored from a 40 up to 160. Within that range, we look for the average, above average, below average, and that falls between 80 and 115 is the average range out of the students that are tested. And so knowing that, we can start looking at the test, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. Do you have any questions so far? Okay, well, I guess we'll go through the assessment here. So the first one we have is receptive vocabulary, and that falls under the listening comprehension. So for Clara's receptive vocabulary, her standard score was a 95. So once again, that's that 80 to 115 that I talked about for the average score. She got a 95 on that. So that falls under average here, as you can see on the side. Then we move to oral discourse comprehension. And for that one, she scored really high. She got 118. So that was definitely, that's above average. It's above the 115 there. Oh yeah, she doesn't have the listening comprehension at home. That's common, we see that sometimes. They don't listen at home the same as they do at school, do they? Yeah. Okay, next we have sentence composition. So that's putting your sentences together. So for the sentence combining, Clara got 106 out of the possible 160. And so that fell within the average range once again. And then for sentence building, she scored really high with that one. She got 125. So she was above average for building her sentences. Yeah. Then we move on to essay composition for word count. So this is where they are timed and they are allowed, they are given a topic and they start writing a sentence, an essay, sorry. And we want to see how many words they can write within the parameters that they're given and also within the time limit. So Clara was able to do, she scored 118 on that. So once again, that was above average for her essay composition. Then we move on to oral expression, which of course is our expressive vocabulary and our oral word fluency and sentence repetition. She scored above average and superior for those. For the sentence repetition, she actually got superior, which was great. So that's where I would say a sentence and she would repeat the sentence back to me the way that I said it. So she did very well on that. So we certainly don't have any concerns with those areas. Moving along, we can move on to the oral language. she scored a standard score of 120 out of that. And so she was within the 91st percentile. So if there was 100 students, she 91 of them would do, so out of the percentile, there's 100, and she would be 91 out of 100 for her oral language. For total reading, she was 126, that was her standard score. So she was above average again for that. She was in the 96th percentile. Basic reading was 81, which put her in the average range. And her reading comprehension and fluency was 124 to 138. So that's superior. She was in the superior range for that. Moving along, we've covered a lot of these already. This is just putting it in a different scale, a different way to rate it. So there's the confidence interval, which is 95% confident that she was between these ranges, but they are the same as the ones that we've just discussed. It's just a different way to look at it. Maybe I'll let you look at it, and if you have any questions, you can let me know. Oh yeah, this is called pseudo word decoding. That's an interesting one. That's essentially we give them made up words, and they read as many as they can on the list, and she was able to read almost all of them. She scored quite high on that. She got 114 to 122 was her score. So she was in the superior range for that, yeah. Any more questions for this one? Great. Okay, moving along. So this is a graph, and this helps us, it's a visual representation. It helps us understand the information in a different way. So for this first one here, it's the oral language, which we talked about earlier. She scored quite high in that. She got some average here is in the red range. So any of this red area is the average range. So between 80 and 115. And above that, which she's above the red, that's above average, and then she's up to 130 for that one, so she's in the superior range for her oral language, so we don't have any concerns there. Also for her total reading, her basic reading, and her comprehension, you can see that she is well within the average range here, and she's actually in superior again. Yeah, and for her written expression, once again, it's the same. Her math fluency was also all well within the average range. It just looks a little different because it's not quite as high as some of the others, but it is still well within the average range. Do you have any questions about that? Yeah, we didn't go over the math score, did we? So we can go back here. That's here on this first page. I'll let you look at both of them. So for her mathematics, her standard score was 107, which is quite high again. Sorry, I'm just looking here. Mathematics 107, so she was within the average range for that. And for her math fluency, she scored a 99, which is once again a good score and put her in the average range. Yeah. So do you have any questions for me? Yeah, that's a lot of information to take in. Yeah. Right, so going forward, after you've seen these results, I'm not sure if you still have concerns, but not really? Okay. Yeah, these were some surprising results. Yeah, you were quite concerned about her reading and her essay writing. Yeah, well, she scored very well on here. So I think you can continue doing the things that you're doing to support her at home. And I know her teacher is very eager to continue supporting her here at school. Yeah, we'll keep an eye on it and we'll definitely keep in touch. You have my email and my phone number. Please feel free to contact me if you have any more concerns, and we will be keeping this on file and we can always come back to it. Yes, yes, let's book a subsequent meeting. I like that. Okay. Well, thank you so much. I'll give you a phone call tomorrow to set up that meeting.